What is up, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of Father Dynasty. I'm your fatherly host, Chew, here in the manhole, here to talk a little fatherhood and a little Dynasty fantasy football. And I've got a very special guest with me today. She is a lover of all things SEC football, more specifically, her Mississippi State Bulldogs, we know.
Yes.
She is an ESPN employee. She is childhood friends with starting Panthers center, Mr. Bozeman.
I am, yes.
And she is the coolest job of all. She's Emma's mom. So, yes. Megan, thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to finally get to talk some football.
Absolutely. And this is, of course, the specially branded Mother Dynasty episode, as, you know, Tyler comes on often, but it's glad to have his better half on. And I hope you heard that.
Yes, I hope he did. If he didn't, he will next week, right?
That's right. Well, we'll get started here. This is a nice way to get loose and just kind of talk a little bit of everything. So this will be keep, trade, cut.
All right. I have to choose my favorite. I'm going to keep. Oh, dear.
I will trade.
This is kind of wild.
The cut is easy, and it's the last one.
As you can hear in there, that is your lovely husband, his voice catching on the last part of the cut there.
Yes.
Keep, trade, cut. It's keep being first, trade being second, cut being third. Every guest gets their own unique one. It's 3 different topics that are, unique to you, and hopefully they're challenging but fun at the same time. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay. So the first one is motherhood.
Okay.
And it's a fun one, as I know motherhood, parenthood as a whole can be fun sometimes. But so the 3 I've got here, you have family or friends babysit for a night out.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a well-established sleep schedule and well-staged baby photos, whether you stage them yourselves or you had someone else do them, and you get that couple photos that are just perfect.
Oh, that's a hard one, because Tyler will tell you I probably take like 20 photos of the same exact pose, and he calls it trimming them down. But between my sleep and just some night outs, I'd probably actually cut the staged photos. I'm gonna keep the sleep. I'm gonna keep the sleep and trade out family and friends keeping here for a night out.
Yeah, sleep is I know. I guess once the schedule gets established, then it's nice to be like, oh, we can do this now after this event, like this time in the night.
Yeah, I mean, normally we are pretty good with our sleep schedule, except for tonight. We could probably hear her losing it in the room next door. It's just one of those nights. We got some teeth coming through, so a little off the norm tonight. But normally she's pretty good. So I will reiterate, I'm going to keep that good sleep schedule.
I was going to say, if we did it a different night, maybe that the keep and the trade would change, but I definitely
it might. But right now we're keeping that. We're keeping the sleep.
I gotcha. Well, so the second one here, now we're trickling over into college football territory, right, and of course, as a Mississippi State fan, I'm going to have you pick your favorite players. I'm excluding Dak because that's easy. Like I know he's kind of the pinnacle for you.
He's my Dak, my wall, my shrine of Dak over here.
You hail Dak, and I understand that. So this one's actually going to be active NFL defensive players that hail from Mississippi State. And I did speak with Tyler just to make sure I got a couple. I was between 2 that I wasn't sure. I think I got some tough ones in there for you that I'm excited to see how you pick. So
okay.
So we've got Darius Slay,
big play Slay,
Fletcher Cox,
had to,
and the ringer, Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. I'm keeping Chris Jones. I love Chris Jones. That was easy. Chris Jones all the way. Fun little fact. I was at a basketball game when he was taking his student recruiting trip, and we all chanted, "We want Chris Jones," just like for like probably 10 minutes straight. So I'm convinced that's the reason he came to Mississippi State was because we all cheered for him, obviously.
Absolutely.
So we're going to keep Chris Jones. I'm gonna trade Darius Slay, and I'm gonna cut Fletcher Cox.
Ooh.
It makes me really mad that Fletcher Cox doesn't say that he's from Mississippi State on Sunday Night Football.
What does he say, by the way? I don't know.
He says his high school, Yazoo City. So I'm sure there's a story, but I'm salty. So
a little disrespect, like, come on, you know where you came from. Like,
yeah, come on, you're Mississippi State made. Show some love.
That's right. Well,
so I didn't show him love.
Fletcher Cox, I know you're listening. You heard that.
Yeah. I'll Tag him.
And the third topic we've got here, still kind of along the same college football idea here, but this is the game day experience, and this is maybe the best part for you. So the first one is tailgate pregame. The second one is in the stands at the game. And the third one is maybe a little close to home for you, literally. In your new sunroom, complete with a ceiling-mounted TV, kicking back and relaxing, watching the game.
That's a tough one. I'm taking way too long on this.
I thought it'd be tough.
I'm going to keep in the stands because it's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually going to go the sunroom with a ceiling-mounted TV as my trade, and then I'll cut the pregame tailgate, which I'm sure would greatly offend Bev and Bill Daly, but I wouldn't cut their pregame tailgate.
It's an upper echelon. It's a different thing. It's an event.
Yeah, if I actually started thinking too much back, I'd probably like reel it back and be like, ooh, I don't know. I'm going to trade it, but we're going to keep first answers only in the stands, sunroom, then pregame tailgate.
I like that. I wasn't sure. I know, like, as we get older, there's the difference in, like, when you're younger, you're just like, I want to go in the stands. I don't care how cold it is. I don't care how hot it is. I don't care what's happening. I'm in the stands. And then as we get older, we're like, home sounds pretty cool. That couch is pretty nice.
No crowds, no weather, free food, free alcohol. Can't really, comfort of your own home. Can't really beat that. But yeah.
Well, I like those answers. And this last one here, it's a bonus. It's not specifically keep, trade, cut, but it's something that Marley and I have done. And I like to ask each of the guests, just because I like to hear your thoughts on this one. So this one is, what would be your 3 movie posters you'd want up on the wall? And just for kind of a frame of reference, so Marley and I in our basement, we reclaimed it from our son Finn. We have 7 posters up on the wall there. I have 4, Marley has 3. And she picked Pretty Woman, Mean Girls, and a Harry Potter one.
Oh.
And I picked a little bit different. Anchorman, Boondock Saints, Goldfinger, and Jaws. So the thought is, like, it's not just the movies you like, but it's thinking about, like, does it have maybe do you think it has a notable poster or something like that? So what would be your 3?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days comes to mind. I don't know why.
Nice.
Let's go Sandlot and Remember the Titans.
Ooh. You were ready with that.
Right?
You know what? I like those. I think those are very good.
It just came to me. So I was like, we're just going to go with the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, the Sandlot and Remember the Titans, I feel like kind of go, with our vibe. And I don't really know where How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days came from, but we're going with it. I just see Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey in my mind in the yellow dress. So that'd be one of mine.
Well, all right.
There you go.
Let's talk some college football. So as I mentioned in the intro, of course, Mississippi State fan, ESPN employee, it runs deep in your blood. I'm sure that's very much what drew you and Tyler together, was your love for college football.
Yes.
Among many other things, of course. But what would you say, since being in the sports industry, what has been your best experience, whether it's meeting somebody, going to a certain stadium, just a certain event that you got to take part in?
I would have to say Omaha. Just being in Omaha for 17 days when we went on our national championship run was, I don't even think incredible describes it. It just doesn't even do it justice. It was a long, long season of some long days, long nights, some frustrating days, and to have it in the way that it did was just truly surreal. I definitely can now understand why everybody out there is like, oh, we just want a 2-game finale. And of course, Mississippi State lost the first game to Vandy. So I was like, we have to have a 3. We have to have 3. But 17 days I was out there just, praying that the Dogs kept making it through another day. They finally did. And, getting to be out on the field with my brother when the confetti came down was something I'll never forget. So I've got a picture right here at my desk of he and I feel like I got to show you now the national champions. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but
that's awesome.
Oh, there we go. Yep. So that'll always be, a special memory that, he and I got to share. And Tyler came out too for a little bit, but it's not football related, but that's definitely my number one.
Oh, yeah. Being on the field, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was definitely cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of Mississippi State Bulldogs,
Ooh.
How do you think they're going to fare this year? How do you think with Will Rogers at the helm? How do you think they're going to do?
They're saying that he could be top 10 quarterback out of the draft, which is pretty exciting. He has an opportunity to pass Dak for the most passing yards in school history, which part of me doesn't want to acknowledge because Dak forever, no one should ever be better than Dak. And that includes Nick Fitzgerald, who passed his rushing yards. And I'm like, no, Dak's still number one in everything. But no, I'm super excited between him and have a couple of my notes, but Dylan Johnson and Woody Marks, they're awesome running backs. They have a ton of catches, but I think, in order for us to really, take our seasons to that, 8-5, 9-4 type season, they've got to start catching and then gaining those yards. One thing I found super interesting when I was looking through stats is we actually were the bottom 5 in the nation last year on yards per catch. We were with Rutgers, UConn, and, to be, a Power 5 school, to be among those ranks was kind of ooh, I know they're Power 5, but it's it's UConn, whatever. No, so I think Will Rogers, his second full year in the offense, I think they're hopefully going to start, some of our wide receivers, I hope are going to, become that proven talent, so to say, and they're really going to try to step up. We do have kind of interesting. We actually lead the SEC in returning starters, both offense and defense. Hoping that will eventually make everything click. I think Mike Leach really needs his first Egg Bowl win. Otherwise, we might start to run him out of Starkville. But I think we've got a really strong defense. We have 11 of our 14 top tacklers coming back. So I'm just, really hoping that we can get some of those, road wins for sure. But I actually see us going, I'm thinking 8-4. That's my pie in the sky. Because we have Georgia at home. We've got Alabama, that classic SEC West where it's just, the grind every single week. I actually have us losing to Bama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Arkansas or Kentucky. I wasn't quite willing to make a call on one of those, but I feel like every year Arkansas and or Kentucky just seems to be, our kryptonite every year. So I'm hoping we can get that 8-4. I really do. Last year, this is a fun little stat for you, but last year, 5 of our games were decided by 4 points or less. And so I think in order for us to, just keep building our football program, it's those close games that we've got to win. We only won 2 of those 3 last year. And if we had been able to, get those field goals, get those, catches and take them down the field, then you are looking at that 8-4, 9-5. I did the math wrong there, seasons, but you know what I mean? It's that's the difference of a winning season, so that's my hopes and my outlook. It's Mississippi State, we get our hopes up and, as Tyler likes to say, well, we're the Chokies. And I'm like, well, we're fail state. So, we've all got our issues here. So
that is truly bonding, just to say the negative fake name for your team, your negative nickname.
Yeah.
That's bonding.
Fail state, man. A couple years ago, they were running out against Alabama and they all tripped over each other coming out the tunnel. There's video of it. Go check it out. And it was just Twitter, fail state. And I'm like, oh, God, if that's not Mississippi State football right there, I don't know what is.
Well, so this is Mike Leach's third year, right?
Third year, yeah.
So, I know it's only been 2, but year-over-year improvement. Hopefully, I know it was a bigger jump. It was going 4-7 to 7-6, I think. So,
yeah.
8 wins, not crazy.
Right.
We've got improvement. Got continuity with your team, like you said.
Memphis, Bowling Green, Arizona. Arizona's on the road, but there's some must wins in there. East Tennessee, obviously, that should be a hopefully no brainer, but, Memphis game opener. A couple years ago, Mississippi State lost to South Alabama, our season opener. That was a rough one. But last year we lost to Memphis on a fluke by 2. So I'm hoping that they, get a little fire lit under them and want to get some revenge for that game last year and start off on a good note. Can't win them all if you don't win the first.
That's right. And I'm going to clip that because that was very nice. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So looking at the college football I guess, seen as a whole, how do you see the playoffs shaking out? And is the first couple, it's more just figuring out who's the fourth team. It's going to be Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and who's the fourth that gets in, or do you see a couple more wrinkles in that than there?
I actually have Utah as my fourth. I have Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Utah.
I'm so glad you said that because that's also who I have, and I have a PDF to prove it. I'm not changing it.
All right.
But I will ask you something. So, have you ever seen Vanderpump Rules?
No.
Okay.
Well, it sounds familiar.
You may have heard of it at least.
Okay.
So I shouldn't know that. But I'm going to show you an overlay here, and I want you to let me know who is the quarterback for Utah. That's close, right?
Yeah.
I know you know which one it is, but immediately when I saw Cam Rising, I was like, oh no, he might be a manager at it's called Sir. I was like, he might be a manager there. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think there's like a Twitter account actually. Maybe it's Virginia Tech, and that's why I know this is for Tyler. But like they take opposing players' pictures and compare them to like funny characters. You know, like I'm pretty sure it's Tech that I'm sure a lot of schools do. But that's one that you need to throw in the mix too.
Okay,
for
I like
sure.
that.
For sure.
And so who do you have? Say out of those four, do you feel like it's Bama? If last year was an off year, as was quoted by Saban, whatever that's supposed to mean, he should have an on year after getting that insane extension. So,
right?
I thought he'd just get right back to it.
It's going to happen. I mean, Mississippi State has not beaten Alabama as long as I've been a fan. I have never seen us beat Alabama.
Wow. Yeah.
2007 was the last time that Mississippi State beat Alabama, and I was still an Auburn fan at the time, planning to go to Auburn for school. So. Yeah. How things change, but yes, that's one 2014 when we went on our number one run. We were perfect season up until Tuscaloosa, and Dan Mullen just dack up the middle every time, and it was not good, and we lost, and it was not good. We lost rebands, it was fine.
Oh no, that sounds like the worst part.
It was. It really kind of was. I was distraught, to say the least. Distraught.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen again. Either of those things happen again.
Yeah. Do you like my little Nick Saban Alabama rant? But I have to say, I do have them winning it all. I do have them playing Ohio State, winning it all, and that part of it's probably my SEC bias. I'm a homer, even though it's like hate them, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm still going to pull for the SEC. Yeah. Over anybody else, which I know it drives Tyler insane. He's like, no, it makes no sense. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I like to tell him, and I told him, I said, I'm going to get my signature college football phrase in, and it's hate us because you ain't us. And he was like, do not say that. And I was like, I'm absolutely saying it. Because anytime he talks shit about the SEC, I'm just like, hate us because you ain't us. And, I think he wants to stuff something in my mouth to shut me up. But I said it. I told him I was going to. But yeah, I still have Alabama winning over Ohio State. They're just a powerhouse. They're just too good. Yeah. And I maybe, cut into the chase a little bit, but I think when you look at the potential Heisman here, you've got Bryce Young, who has an opportunity to win it, 2 years in a row versus CJ Stroud. But you look at the people surrounding the teams, I think you've got two great teams and two great offenses, but I do think that Ohio State has a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball that could really help CJ Stroud, really shine out. But Bama's hard to beat, man. It's tough. Indeed.
And like you were hinting at, does it sound like it may be Bryce Young as the Heisman favorite, or is it's kind of tough to say, oh, he'll repeat, or can Stroud do it? Although, like you said, Ohio State's a wide receiver factory.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was reading through, talking to Tyler, who do we see? Jameer Young, the new transfer from Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. I see a scenario where he's the newcomer. He steals some thunder, so to say, from Bryce Young. Gotcha. But on the flip side, you've got CJ Stroud, and he's got Enigba, and that's that right? Enigba.
I think so.
Jigba maybe. Harrison, Julian Fleming, and they're also powerhouses on the offensive side of the ball. So on one hand, they may take some votes from him as well. So a dark horse is the wide receiver transfer from Pitt, Jordan Addison at USC. It's going to be a dark horse.
And do you like what USC is doing? You bring over basically Oklahoma. Is it upsetting a little bit?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when they brought Missouri and A&M into the SEC, and I definitely don't like Oklahoma and Texas coming in too.
Yeah.
But what do you do? I definitely don't. I think it's a weird move, the Big Ten, but it definitely begs the question. What does that mean for the Power Five? Because I think it's on its way out.
Very much. I mean, that's a pretty big shakeup right there. And then I would wonder, what it does mean for. I mean, the first thing I thought of was what happens to the ACC. Of course, I just default to that, but it's like it's reasonably top heavy, and it's like, wouldn't some other conference just suck them out of like the top couple people out of there and leave the UVAs and the Florida States and the Boston colleges and at this point Virginia Tech's out to pasture.
Right. Virginia Tech, we'd eat them in the SEC, much to Tyler's disdain. Hate us because you ain't us, right? Hate us because you ain't us. Exactly. Hate us because you ain't us. I mean, I remember, right as all of this news was starting to kind of break, I've been in the office a couple of times, just here and there. And one of the days we were all standing around, we were like, what does that mean from a work perspective too? Because we've got the SEC network, we've got Longhorn, which, is set to expire in a couple of years, but we've got the ACC, and it's like, what does that look like with all these different conferences and now USC? And I mean, they were out on the West Coast anyways, and we don't have Big Ten deals, but it definitely begs the question, what is that going to look like? I don't know. Rights, deals. It's definitely going to create a monster, and I'm not in any of those conversations, thank goodness. But I'll definitely be curious to see where it ends up in a couple of years. Yeah,
I think if you were to explain, if we get 10 years down the road and it's looking at how these things continue to change, you have the transfer portal, you have NIL, and trying to explain that none of that existed to people that just grow up with that's how it is, it's going to be such a weird concept and make me feel incredibly old and ornery. And I'm like, back in my day, none of this stuff was around, and it was just people playing football for the good of the game.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't just transfer and immediately play. You had to sit out a year,
You make your commitment and you stick with it.
Yeah, right. You can't just change because you don't get to play. You should have picked Alabama with five other 5 stars ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your own fault.
Well, we've covered a good amount of college football, but I think the most important thing, really, in any sports conversation is, what is your hot take? Do you have a hot take on maybe a result with a player, with a team, something like that? Maybe a team that's going to fall from grace?
I actually, we kind of talked a little bit about the NIL, the transfer portal. My hot take was that, this is going to be the year that officially puts the nail in the coffin on the four team playoff. I think with the expanding conferences, with these transfer portals and these NIL deals, it's going to create more diversity between the teams. And I think from a viewer standpoint, people are tired of seeing these same teams filter in and out. So if you open up the playoff and you have all of these different players going to these different schools, I think it's just going to open up a wormhole in a good way, where we're going to start seeing, these other teams coming out of the woodwork. And it's going to be, something people want to see. It's like, hey, yeah, I want to see Tulane playing Ohio State because they just had an awesome year, or, UCF, or, these teams that have gone, 12-0 in the regular season, but just weren't quite good enough to make it to the playoff, because you've got your Michigans and your Ohio States and your Alabamas and your Clemsons. So I don't know. It's kind of like a March Madness style, where if you really open up that bracket to 12, 16 teams, and, you just kind of see where it goes. And I think it'd be fun. I mean, baseball's the same way. You get your best 8 teams in Omaha, and you just, fight to the death, basically. But, does the best team always win? Maybe not. In 2021 it did. In 2022 it did not, because, Ole Miss won, and that's just a fluke. And imitation is the best form of flattery. They had to do it after us, but we were first, whatever. Yeah, of course. But that's what I'd like to see. I would like to see that happen. I think it'd be good for the sport. It'd be good for fans. It'd be good for numbers and viewership. And I think across the board, it'd be great.
Yeah, I feel like parity definitely, I feel like, is what many sports, I think professional sports are kind of able to do it easier in terms of kind of turn on a dime and it's truly a business. And now with college football, I think turning into more of a business, it always has been a business, but really being acknowledged as such and bringing the players in with NIL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? It could truly become that where it's, I mean, the players want to go where they want to go. They can, they get paid for it, but also then there creates the parity with the playoff. It grows. It's more exposure to teams that otherwise, wouldn't get that national stage. So I think that'd be great. And I like that hot take. I'm with it.
Thank you. And I got two others. The other one would be NIL. I also think that they're going to have to get some boundaries around it. I think that it has a potential to just really blow up in the worst way, especially when you've got these schools like USC offering, hundreds of, I don't know, deals, but, they've got way more money than Mississippi State. So it's like, so you're going to start creating powerhouses in a different way just because you can, essentially bribe them with things and money. It's like, they're going to have to figure out a way to either limit it. And that may really be a controversial hot take, because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, no, they've earned it, which is great. But at the end of the day, like, you're still there for your education. Like, you're not in the NFL yet. So I definitely think they need to work to get some boundaries surrounding those NIL deals, and again, for the good of the sport. Because you're going to see these like smaller teams that are just going to be left in the dust, and it's just not fun for anybody. So that's my second take. My third take is that Virginia Tech and Mississippi State finally meet in a bowl game.
Ooh, okay.
It's going to be the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, because middle of the pack, ACC, SEC teams, and even better, I'm not going to be able to go because I will be in California for 10 days for the Rose Bowl and the national championship.
Wow.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that this year. This is my first time on the college football playoff planning committee.
Congrats, brother. That's awesome.
Thank you. I last week spent a couple of days at the college football seminar, helped plan that. We had everybody from ESPN, all of our talent, everybody, the producers all came in for a couple of days of a conference. So that was really cool. I actually got to sit in and listen to some of these conversations about NIL and the conference expansion. So, I tend to, when I get a little nervous, which I mentioned I am a little bit now, but I tend to just like jabber on. But I was taking notes knowing this was coming up. I was like, oh, that's good for Choose Podcast. I need it. This is good. But yeah, so I'm super excited. My parents, shout out to them, are going to be keeping Emma for, I believe it's 12 days.
Nice. Okay.
While I'm traveling back and forth. Tyler's already booked his flight out for the national championship. And I'll look to come out for the Rose Bowl too. So 10 full days I'll be out in California from the 30th to January 10th. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be, a lot of work, but as a football fan, it's bucket list items for me. And hard to believe this is my 10th football season with ESPN. So it's crazy. I don't feel like I'm old enough to have been at a company for 10 years. Or have a child, Mother Dynasty over here. It's crazy, but that's just, the sports gods have looked out for Tyler and I long enough now where it's just got to come to a head, and it's going to happen this year. I know it. I feel it.
That's awesome. I mean, again, first of all, congratulations. That's incredible. That's, again, from a professional standpoint, and again, from a sports standpoint, which I think it's so cool that you get to be working in that field, but also having that fandom of not only Mississippi State or anything, but just sports in general, maybe more specifically college football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the pinnacle to be a part of that. So, I mean, that's incredible. And obviously for Tyler to be able to come out there with you and you guys just to share that time together.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm thrilled. Yeah. When I found out, I was, I kind of had like pinched myself a little bit. I was like, so between that, I'm doing the college football awards again this year. So nice. My fourth year on the college football. I didn't get to finish it last year. So I went into labor 2 weeks early. So
rats.
Come
on, Emma.
I know. Don't let me finish my show. They called me. I think it was yesterday and said, "Hey, we really need you back on the show." That senior experience. And I was like, all right. Again, like it's college football. It's the football awards.
Yep.
So it's all stuff that I love. So I'm more than happy to jump on and go where your passions are. It's fun. It's fun. I love it. And one day maybe you'll have me back when I don't, ramble through all my little notes. But no, I love talking football, SEC. Anytime I can, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Well, And honestly, this episode did give me an opportunity to really brush up on maybe more specifically SEC football. Honestly, college football more as a whole, because I feel like I get kind of bogged down by more so professional and focus more on college towards the kind of latter stages of the seasons, kind of see where everybody shook out. But I kind of miss out on maybe a lot of the narratives throughout the season and kind of, who's up, who's down as a player, as a team. So I was very appreciative of you coming on to be able to, kind of force me to look into that stuff a little bit deeper. Of course, this is the most I've ever either Googled or searched Mississippi State Bulldogs. So I know much more about them now than I ever did in my life.
You're going to start getting ads for like t-shirts and hats, like, are you interested in Mississippi State Bulldogs? Oh, but since you did so much research, would you agree with the playoffs? And I think you said you also had Utah.
I did. It was hilarious that you said that, because again, when I created that overlay and everything, I was like, I don't know who she's going to go with for the fourth team. I think the first three are probably kind of more or less set in stone, but I was like, I think Utah could do it. I mean, it's a pretty stout run defense. They have I know Cam Rising looks, of course, like I said, like a manager at Sir. But I'm not saying by any means he himself is, say, a Heisman candidate, but I know it's having that continuity. Like when you're talking about Will Rogers' continuity of like come back for another year, you have so many returning people. If Cam Rising's coming back, if it's a solid defense, if it's a trimmer conference, then they very well have a shot. I think they're 7th in the AP poll. So, I mean, I think that's reflective of how they finished the season, and I think how they can hopefully grow to maybe that 4th spot. But if there's any parity, it's really in that 4th spot this year. I think at least the first 2, probably the first 3 are boringly set in stone, and hopefully, as your hot take insinuated, maybe in the future it could be 6, could be 8.
Maybe.
I'm open 8. So
that's probably a good number. We don't want to go any bigger than that. I think 8 would be good too. But any Heisman front runners for you?
So aside from just picking Bryce Young and just being boring, my dark horse would be Jackson Smith and Jigba. And the only thing would be, I know it would be historic if Bryce Young repeated with that. It would also be historic, of course, if it was Jackson Smith and Jigba, although it kind of feels a little like warm and fuzzies that Devonta Smith very recently overshadowed Mac Jones, the guy who threw him the ball and allowed him to get those stats to win the Heisman. So Smith and Jigba, ironically enough, his game against Utah, which it's the team that I'm saying could be the 4th in the playoff, but his 15 catch, 320 something yard, 3 touchdown game. I'm not saying it's it's one game extrapolated over the rest of the season, but I think he's so explosive, so incredible, and did it even next to Olave and Wilson as of recently. So I think he could be kind of a dark horse to be a non-quarterback, but still an offensive player to kind of come in there and win the Heisman. But that would be a money play I'd put, because I think the odds would be a little bit in my favor on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the same point that I had actually written down was he could easily steal that thunder from C.J. Stroud. Mm-hmm. It's like good point about Devontae Smith wouldn't have caught all those passes if Mac Jones hadn't been there to give him the ball.
Yeah,
he won the Maxwell Award though, so he wasn't totally totally forgotten about. But
and that was, of course, it's my opportunity to just point out that it seems like Ohio State quarterbacks, they do it in college, but I don't know what it is. It just doesn't really seem to follow on to the NFL. But
they don't have that SEC built tough mentality, I guess.
That's what it is.
There you go. See, I'm a homer. It's bad. It's bad. But I own it, right? I own it. I like it.
Stay loyal. I respect it.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah. No, I think those are great choices. And, here's to hoping for Jordan Addison or Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I like it. I
think if either one of those win, then we're just going to have a toast later on and be like, hey, look at us. And Utah. We'll just have to go all out,
Oh man,
the cheers, the toasts. If our teams and our players get in, be like, hey, give us a crystal ball, take us to Vegas. We got this.
Yeah, the amount of lottery tickets I'm going to buy that night, unbelievable.
Right? Yes, I'm here for it.
Well, I will say thank you so much for joining me for talking college football, talking a little bit of motherhood too. I know that Emma, she stayed quiet for us. She's being respectful. She understood the process.
The last maybe 15 minutes, I've heard some winding down. So
that was Tyler.
Oh yeah, doing his time check-ins over there.
Well, as the guest, I do want to give you a chance. You get the final word. Could be a quote, could be a shout out to somebody. Anything that you want to share. Could be your phrase that Tyler doesn't like so much. It's up to you.
Okay, that's because you ain't us.
Ayo.
I can't end on that. He would kill me. No, thank you for having me on. This was kind of new too for me, just, being able to read back through notes and the seasons, and coming up this fall will actually be my first season since 2016 that I won't work a couple Saturdays a month. So I'm very excited to be able to fully focus on college football again and just enjoy Saturdays and enjoy our new sunroom with our mounted TV. A couple of Saturdays we have planned for Blacksburg. So now I'm just really looking forward to that. And thank you for having me on. Thank you for Tyler for some of his advice, I guess, as I was preparing for this, some of his thoughts on it. I asked him, I was like, what are your hot takes? And he wouldn't share. He said, find your own hot takes. And I was like, wow, okay. So we'll give him a little bit of a shout out. One for his help, and two for introducing me to you and Marley and my future son-in-law Finn.
That's right. They are betrothed. We've already decided it. I think
no one else better come at it. It's not
Tyler explained it to me. It's like imprinting from Twilight.
Yes.
I was shocked that he knew what that was, and then I was also disappointed that I knew what he meant. So I couldn't really say anything.
I have to tell you, it was just on randomly. I can't remember if it was like late pregnancy, early baby. But he was like, hey, you want to watch the second one tonight? Hey, you want to watch the third one tonight? And I was like, wow, this is new, but I've never expected this from you. But here we are. Hey, I had on Reba this morning, just noise in the background. And I heard him just, giggling along. And I was like, are you laughing at Reba? And he was like, yeah, I am. So he's turning soft with his TV shows and movies.
That's okay.
I'll tell him I said that. Oh, he'll know in a couple days, I guess.
I was gonna say, is Emma softening him a little bit? Maybe. Is that what it is?
Oh yeah. Next time he's on, you should have him sing some songs. That should be your next clip. Just the animals sings all day. He can sing that from memory.
I mean, don't tempt me. We might go viral on that one.
All right, let's do it.
Oh man. Well, no, thank you so much. And tell Emma and tell Tyler good night.
I will. Same to Marley and Finn.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks.